One of our very first YouTube videos was on MCT oil and weight loss. So is MCT oil something that we still use, still promote? Are there any dangers that you have to be aware of in taking MCT oil? That is what we're going to revisit in this video. So those were the days, right?
Yeah. Bigger back then.
Yeah, it's crazy to think of us standing upstairs and that, oh my goodness, how far we have come.
Yeah, anyway. And hopefully I've gotten much better with my delivery.
Yeah.
That was
both of us.
That was like pretty stiff.
All right, well, anyway, so those are the days. MCT oil, that was May of 2017 that we did that. And you were 80 pounds heavier at that point. You've kept that weight off, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So, and one of the tools that you used early on was MCT oil. So where are you at with that right now?
Well, maybe we should kind of explain MCT oil. We've got viewers who aren't familiar with it. So MCT stands for medium chain triglyceride. It is a fat, it's a triglyceride. Medium chain just describes how many carbons are in it. So there's 6 carbons, 8 carbons, 10 carbons, and 12 carbons. Those are considered MCTs. Most sources don't look at C12 anymore because it really doesn't have the same benefits, and it can be digested much more like a typical longer chain fat. C6 doesn't have a whole lot of the MCT effects either, and very, very, very teeny tiny proportions in coconut oil. It is found in coconut oil along with some other oils, but coconut oil is the biggest source of this. Now, if this were a bottle of coconut oil, only about 12 to 13% of it would be the C8 and the C10, which are caprylic and capric acid, which are the main MCTs that have benefit, doing a ketogenic diet, low carb diet like we do. So MCT oils typically don't require bile for digestion, so they are taken right through the portal system to the liver when you intake them. So they're not digested and handled the same way as other fats, which are packaged in chylomicrons, and they're kind of shipped out. They can be used for energy, but most of the time, they're shipped into your storage sites, so your body fat. MCTs go right to the liver, so they're either used by the liver for immediate energy, or they are converted into ketones. So if you are on a ketogenic diet and in ketosis and trying to be in ketosis, that is a great thing. They definitely, I would use them, to kind of help push me, like every day would get a little push to kind of get me into ketosis.
Yeah, they do act as almost an exogenous ketone, meaning like a ketones like supplement that you would take. MCT oil seems to have a very similar effect.
Yeah, I look at that because we'll probably get some comments on that too, and some questions about exogenous ketones. So I look at it as it's like the difference between taking like an anabolic steroid shot and using something that increases your body's production of anabolic steroids naturally. So it makes your liver make the ketones. You actually do that process instead of just pouring the ketones in.
Yeah.
I think it's a better process.
Yeah.
So let's get into some of the pros. So we did this video 2.5 years ago, or whatever it was. We talked about some of the benefits as far as, there's a lot of research on MCT oil. You can find a ton of it. We went back through just to see if there were some new things. And we did find a couple of new things. So we talked about in that video about how they were good for weight loss. They tended, the research studies showed that they tended to result in some increased fat mass loss for people who are using them in their diets. But we have some new information now about gut health, which I think is super interesting.
Yeah, well, just with that too, there's some criticism about MCT oil studies with weight loss because the studies have been generally smaller. Now you have found some studies that were a little bigger, like maybe 49 participants, I think, in the one study. But most of them were showing that there was weight loss. Another criticism of some of the research out there is that the weight loss may have been not a substantial amount compared to maybe like long chain fatty acids, which are the normal fats that we get in our diet from plants and animals. One question that you always have to look at with nutritional research is what was the quality of the entire diet. So I do think that there is enough supporting evidence out there for reduction of weight, and specifically belly fat, that visceral fat that is around our waist that contributes to problems, and also some evidence that it will increase our fullness, our ability to feel full, and that's by triggering the release of important hormones that help us feel full. Leptin, that we talk about often as a fullness hormone,
peptide YY,
which is made in your intestines, that also helps with fullness. So that's kind of my recap on weight loss. But then, you were talking about gut health, yeah.
Right. So we came across some research where they've actually looked at MCT oil as being a restorative measure for the gut microbiota. I'm not sure if they really know why, but that's an interesting thing in and
I would say that's a little bit more of a newer thing as we learn more and more about the importance of the gut microbiome. I think obviously, and I'm sure you would probably agree that you cannot overlook the health of the gut microbiome. It contains so many of our immune cells. It is so important for production of short chain fatty acids that help us in so many different health factors. And we're really, it's very new area that is being researched. But there is some evidence that MCT oil helps the growth of the good bacteria in our gut and also supports the lining of the gut, which is very important. We don't want proteins and things leaking through the gut that then are identified in your body as potentially harmful things that get attacked, and that leads to inflammation and all that go down that road. So
right, and we hopefully will be doing something maybe on the microbiome or the gut microbiota sometime in the near future. We'll have to see how things go here.
Yep.
So we talked a little bit about gut health. We talked a little bit about weight loss. We touched upon in that first video that there was some thermogenic effect with MCTs. Kind of glossed over that a little bit, but there is some pretty good evidence that this thermogenic effect, in fact, it actually raises your resting metabolic rate, which that's pretty huge. And over the time, ketogenic diets, a lot of times they've been this thing where you can consume more calories than normal and yet you still lose weight. And maybe part of that's because of that. If you're using MCT oils, you're raising your metabolism up, so you're burning more.
I don't think they saw that with typical long chain fatty acids, that increased thermogenic effect. But if you are utilizing MCT oil and MCTs, they did have the rise in resting metabolic rate. So that's intriguing for sure.
And they did test MCT oil against olive oil, because olive oil, we consider that relatively healthy to use in our diet, but it does not, it is a long chain triglyceride.
So let's talk about one thing that we didn't talk about in that first video were any cons.
Yeah.
So the cons aren't super significant. They can be for some people. So first of all, MCT oil can have a laxative effect. So if you decide that you're going to jump right in and take a full tablespoon, you might be visiting the bathroom a little bit sooner than you would like to. So you do need to start slow with it. Basic recommendation is a teaspoon. Let your body go 24 hours, see how your body reacted, and then you can up it from there to about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons, which is another point. The therapeutic dose of MCT oil has never really clearly been defined. The general consensus is typically in 1 to 2 tablespoons per day, which is 15 milliliters, I believe, is 1 tablespoon. So I believe so.
I think that's right.
So there you go too. You have to think about that. Also, if you have a bit of a sensitivity to it, it can feel like a bit of a burning or like an itchiness in your throat or some stomach discomfort. I will say that I get that sensation. I get just a little tickle in my throat when I ingest it. So, and I think it's just a simple sensitivity that I have. Another thing to look out for, the MCT oil is handled by the liver. So if you have a liver disease or some damage there, that you're working with your doctor on, you need to let him or her know before you start taking MCT oil.
Right. And I would like to add a point. So even though there hasn't been any discovery of MCT oil affecting any, if you're taking medications, medications are oftentimes cleared through the liver. So that's another reason that, you need to talk to your doctor. Just make sure that you're not putting any extra stress on your liver.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
And one thing also, in our earlier videos that I'm actually going to backtrack on, I had talked about MCT oil for cooking and saying that it was fine to do. I'm going to step back from that and just say that there's question marks about it. I've seen it both ways. One reason that I felt at first it was fine is because it is a saturated fat. Saturated fats hold up very well to heat. However, MCT oil has a lower smoke point, which can sometimes indicate that it is maybe not as good for cooking. So really at this point, I don't think the research is clear, and I would just not utilize that and instead utilize avocado oil, or you can utilize butter or coconut. Coconut oil would actually be fine.
Yeah, just regular coconut oil
Yeah.
would work. So the thermogenic effect that I had talked about a little bit early is kind of one of those things that kind of piqued my interest a little bit more. Now, I've used MCT oil. I was using it almost daily when I was losing weight, and I've got away from it a little bit. I might use it, maybe once or twice a week now, just because I didn't, I wasn't really in a weight loss kind of a situation. I have had a little bit of metabolic slowdown, I believe. And we talked about that a little bit from the 10-day fast, that it may have affected that in a negative way. So this thermogenic effect, where it raises your resting metabolic rate, really intrigued me. So I think I'm going to start using this again on a daily basis and just kind of see where that leads me. Mm-hmm. So we talked a little bit about the dosing. So I use a tablespoon. I've always used a tablespoon. I can eat just about anything without any problems. I don't have any sensitivities. Mm-hmm. So a tablespoon, I usually put in a hot cup of coffee, and I'll usually either use a blender, like a little NutriBullet thing, or if I'm in a hurry, I just use this little thing. It's a little just milk frother, and you just whip it up in there, and it blends it up. It's nice and creamy.
It is a handy little thing.
It is, yeah,
off.
yeah. So, yeah. And we use the Left Coast brand.
Yeah.
We always have.
Yeah, we just get this off Amazon. In fact, both of these products are on Amazon. They're on our Amazon affiliate store. So if you would like to support us, if you're interested in either of those, you can go visit that, and we'll put that link in the description area below. We are affiliates of Amazon, which means that we get a little bit of a kickback from that, but we do appreciate you supporting our channel in that way. So, all right, till next time.
Till next time.
All right, thanks.